Now, welcome along to our Staying Well While Staying Home series, a collaboration between Siel, Bleu Ireland and the Irish Cancer Society. So myself, Shane, bringing the workout today. Things I will have ready for the workout as ever, I will lead in standing, but I do have a chair that I can use for some of the exercises. Whether standing or seated, we will require that chair. Have your weights at the ready. You can use tins, bottles, anything that gives you a little bit of extra resistance. And also just having a bottle of water at the ready, and out of screen I'll have a window open as well. So I'm just going to make a couple of adjustments here just with the light, just to try and block out some of that sun coming in at me here. Now, so again, what I'd always say with the workouts is just work at your own pace. Whether that's breaking the workout up throughout the day. We'll have two main components today, which is our aerobic work, which is active moving, working the heart, working the lungs, and then our main strength block of work, where we will perform our strength exercises. If you want to break them up, if you perform 1 round, 2 rounds, 3 rounds, whatever feels right to you. Otherwise, I think we'll just get ready and we'll get straight into the workout if we're ready to do so. So the first thing we're going to do is warm up, loosen the body, and just bring that heart rate gradually up before we start to work out a little bit harder within the main session. So off of the shoulders is typically where I will begin my workouts, just rolling my shoulders back. So I just want to get some movement here first, slowly rolling my shoulders back. Just looking to get any movement at all here. So just typically an area that's a little bit tight. And before we go loading any parts like our shoulder with weight, we want to just check in with these areas, open them out, loosen them up. Now, if I start to roll those shoulders forward in circles, just slowly rolling forward, opening up through those shoulders. Okay. From here, I'm just going to bring my arms lightly across my chest and just pull back, open up nice and wide and return back in. So just open up wide and returning back in. We'll just continue like that. As I open those arms out nice and wide, I feel a nice squeeze between the shoulder blades. And I just open up through that chest as well as I pull the arms out wide. Just continuing on, opening up those arms. And from here, if I just fold the arms and I just begin lightly raising in front, just to about shoulder height, raising the arms in front. And then keeping the elbows or the arms elevated here. I want to minimize the movement through my hips and just rotate to the right and over to the left. Getting movement through the upper body here. As much movement as we can through the upper body. Again, maybe feels a little bit tight, a little bit stiff to begin, but opening out as we continue, moving from one side to the other. Okay, from this position, I want to bring my arms out and just lightly pull back in towards my tummy. And this ties in with a movement we will perform within the circuit itself. A rowing action using weight today. So we're just kind of getting a sense of that movement. Pulling back, rowing into your tummy. Bringing those arms back, tucking the elbows behind. Getting any kind of a connection and squeeze with the back of your body. Okay, from this position, I'm just going to bring it into a march and just bring some more movement into play now and just start really warming that body up. So within the warm-ups, we're kind of checking in with all these areas like our back, our shoulders, areas we're going to work within the session itself. And then also just within the overall purpose of warming up the body, loosening out and bringing that heart rate up as well, gradually. So for my next movement, I just want to start tapping the heels out in front. Just keeping myself moving through the legs here, tapping the heels out. I'm just going to bring the upper body into play with this movement by just bringing the hands up and just pressing at the same time. Maybe need to slow down a little bit just to merge the two in together. Pushing forward out from chest and just lightly tapping the heels out. And then I will just return back into my march. My next movement, by all means, I can turn to face my chair for a little bit of support for this one. What I'll do is just lightly curl the legs back. And again, just return back into my march, just keeping it moving, warming myself up, loosening everything out. Just going to turn to the side to show this next one. Again, you can use that chair if you want, just to guide you here. What I want to do is stretch the legs back one at a time, lightly pointing my toes into the floor as I stretch the leg back. Yeah, very simply, you can just use that chair to guide me should I need. And then again, just returning into my march. Next movement, what I'm going to do is just tap those legs out to the sides one at a time, just pointing toes lightly into the floor. Again, you could turn, face the chair if that just feels more comfortable. I'm not going to overextend anything, just lightly tapping the toes side to side. At this point, starting to feel a little bit warmer. Everything's starting to open up nicely here. And then again, I'll just return back to my march. And then one more time, I will just begin that action of lightly curling the legs back one at a time. Really important, you spend that little bit of time just opening up, working on the legs. It's always an important part of the session, strengthening the legs when we get into that main strength circuit. And down. Okay, so as our first warm-up finished, we're going to move into our aerobic block of work, which is in a sense a continuation of our warm-up, and we'll move with a little bit more challenge and intensity at this point. As I'll always say, work to a point that gives you a challenge, where you feel you're active, you're working, you know that you're getting a good workout, equivalent to a brisk walk, for example, that it's brisk, it's challenging, moving at a good moderate intensity. If you need to slow down, if you feel anyway a little bit uncomfortable, breathless, it goes without saying that we pause and rest. I will lead these movements in standing. You can also perform them in the seated position if you prefer. So what I'm going to do is put our clock on. We're just going to kind of seamlessly move through these movements, 3 movements, which we'll perform 3 times. I want to take up a split stance. So I push my left foot in front of the right. They're still hip width apart, but my left foot is in front of right. From this position, I start to lightly swing the arms forward and back. Providing that feels comfortable and unbalanced, I will now move into a more moderate pace now, pushing with a little bit more purpose in the movement. If you are performing this in a seated position, take up a regular foot stance, and I just want you to move the arms forward and back at a nice brisk pace, forward and back. So the arms aren't pushing into an overhead position, they're just going forward and back. Just want to continue. I'm in a split stance or a staggered stance here. So working through my balance as well. Not an easy a position if I had just kept my 2 feet hip width apart. If you feel in any way uncomfortable, just bring your stance back to normal if you prefer. Okay. So we're going to switch it up. Now I bring my right foot forward again. The feet are hip width apart. They're separated. I'll show from the front this time. And again, straight in. Swing those arms forward and back. Might just start with a little caution the first couple. Providing I feel balanced, I'm happy with the position, I continue moving at a nice brisk pace here. Upper body will move a little bit. It will rotate side to side. I don't want to force you to be too rigid and tight here. Just let the upper body sway and flow a little bit. I'm in control. I'm strong and I'm balanced. But the body will rotate a little bit side to side, as it will when you walk, jog, any movement like that. The body will not stay perfectly rigid. So we'll just let the body flow as the arms swing forward and back. And here as I talk, I'm working, I'm active, a little bit out of puff, which is what I want. But I'm still in control. I can still hold and talk in a full sentence. Return back in. And final movement. Just checking here. Yes, our hand knee taps. Open the arms out. Tap across. Okay. Again, if you're in a seated position, I want you just do that same action. Raise the knee up. Tap your arm across. So opposite hand to knee. Upper body stays strong, just that I'm not bending. So whether you're standing or seated, you're keeping a nice, strong, upright position as you tap your hand across to the opposite side. Nice, strong lift of the knee. Again, if the hip feels maybe very tired, then you can lower the height of that knee lift. So your hip is really active with this motion. And again, important that you're strong and balanced as you perform the action. And down. So there are your 3 movements. We repeat 2 more rounds. Any adjustments you need to make, such as seat instead of standing, we can implement those now. Otherwise, left foot forward, feet still hip width, and arms forward and back. So I'm in that split stance. Again, just working a little bit harder to maintain this position, but I'm staying strong and balanced as I swing the arms forward and back. Again, I'm moving at a nice brisk pace. There's challenge. I feel I'm active. I'm working. You can hear that in the voice as I talk. Slight pant, which is good. Good sign I'm working. Maybe a little bit red, light red, maybe a little bit of light sweat, but no way am I out of breath or pumping sweat. I'm in control as I go through the movements. Last couple of seconds. And return. Set up through the opposite side. I bring my right foot in front of the left. They're still hip width. Nice and upright. And we will just sway the arms forward and back. Okay, so if we just continue on through that action, just want to check in with a comment there. Suzanne Conway, very welcome along. Okay, great to have you with us. If this is your first time with this workout, Suzanne, just to work up through your own pace, quite challenging workouts we've been doing in this series. So just build up at your own pace, no pressure at all, but great to have you with us. And last couple of seconds here. and return. So again, from a standing or a seated position, I want you to open your arms by your side, tapping hand across the opposite knee. So we'll begin like so. So again, it's one of those, really, it's just exactly the same movement, whether standing or seated. Nice, strong, upright position. Tap the hand across to the opposite knee. Again, I'm strong and I'm balanced. If I was in any way unbalanced, I might just take the arms away from the movement and just hold on to that chair. So important that you are in control, certainly feeling a challenge, but not in any way unbalanced through the movements. Last couple of seconds. And return. Third, final round. Anyway, out of breath or need to rest, pause. You do that without needing to even think. Always just rest if you need. Otherwise, left foot in front of right, that staggered stance. Feet still hip width, and the arms sway forward and back. In your seated position, you're just moving the arms forward and back. We don't need to worry about the same foot setup. So just a regular foot position and sway the arms forward and back. But again, I'm moving with a little bit of purpose, intensity. I'm not kind of lightly, not really feeling anything. I'm moving with a little purpose and a little intensity, giving myself a good challenge. So really active phase, our aerobic phase of the workout is active. We're moving, giving ourselves a good challenge. Last couple of seconds. And switch it up, changing the foot position. Now right foot is in front of left, but they're still hip width apart, unbalanced. And I move straight in. Again, just bringing the arms forward and back. In that seated position, your regular foot stance, and you're just moving the arms in the same way. And just being very careful of any maybe arms on the side of your chair, just that you're clear of any potential object. So just sitting forward a little bit if you need to. Last couple of seconds here. And return. Final action, standing or seated, the same movement pattern. Nice and upright, arms to my side. And bringing hand across to the opposite knee. Again, I'm strong, I'm balanced through the position. If I wasn't, I would take the arms away from the movement, just working through the knees, lifting up. As I bring those knees up, one at a time, I really work the hip. So I might feel those hips getting a little bit tired. And just lowering the height of that knee lift if that is the case. Keeping that upper body position nice and straight, not bending into the movement. Just lightly tapping the arm across to the opposite knee. Last couple of seconds. And rest, okay? So that is our aerobic block of work finished, a little bit out of pant. The sign that I've worked myself hard, giving myself a challenge. So take a little breather, just take a rest, and maybe just take a drink of water. And we will move into our strength block of work. Again, every exercise can be performed standing or seated. I will lead the movement standing. However, any movement can be performed seated if you prefer. And in many cases, We all have individual, whether it's shoulder, around the chest, or maybe reasons why certain movements are more challenging or certain positions maybe feel like they cause strain. So I will always say make any changes you feel you need to. No magic formula with the exercises. You're just working at a level that feels right to you. So we'll go through just before I put the clock. I don't want to rush my explanation here. So we're not. I'm just demonstrating the movements. First thing, if you are working from a seated position, your action will be to extend the right leg with a 2-second pause every time you bring the leg up. If we are comfortable with our standing variation, what I want you to do is, keeping those feet spread apart here, bring your left foot forward so you're in a split stance. So left foot is in front of the right, but they're still spaced apart. You'll bring the arms across chest, elbows in front, and the action will be standing up and down, putting more work through the back leg. If this split stance doesn't feel comfortable, bring your feet level and you'll go for a regular stance, sit to stand. Okay, so you can see how the choice is there. I will lead with split stance. You can go with regular, and you can also go with seated leg extension. So let's begin the clock. In about 20 seconds, I'm going to set this position up. Left foot in front of right, so the toes of my right foot roughly match the heel of my left foot, but they're separated and spread apart. Arms across chest, elbows raised, and I will begin in 3, 2, 1. I stand up nice and tall, and I sit back down. I keep the elbows raised. That's going to help maintain that nice upper body position where I'm not bending as I stand. By having one foot further in front, I'm making the back leg do extra work here. I'm pushing the heel of that right foot into the floor as I stand. So all that power and work through the back right leg. I'm keeping the elbows in front, raised, helping me to maintain a nice upright position as I stand. Pace of a movement like this is important, challenging, not an easy movement. Go at a pace that feels right for you. So you're not rushing through the exercise. Strong, slowly back down. I'm breathing out as I stand up. Inhale as I lower back down. And I'll go one last time. And return. I'm switching it up now. We have always that nice rest in between, about 25 seconds. Feet back level. And now my right foot is further in front. So right foot in front of left. The toes of my left foot roughly match up with the heel of my right foot. Nice and upright. Arms across chest. Elbows raised. And I begin. Standing up. Sitting back down. Again, first adjustment you can make if this stance doesn't feel good. Maybe you feel there's too much work through that back leg. Adjust and go back to a regular stance and just a normal sit to stand from your chair. Or from your seated position, you're just extending the left leg out, pausing for 2 seconds at the top every time. Again, by having one leg further in front, I'm making that back left leg work extra hard here. I'm pushing up through the heel of my foot, pushing into the floor, working through that left leg as I stand up. Keeping the elbows raised, keeping a nice upright position. Exhale as I stand. Inhale as I return. And return. Next movement, a lateral raise. So I want to take our 2 weights next. Again, standing or in seated, the instruction is the same. So you can, of course, perform this seated. Really, your setup will be the same. Take your 2 weights, nice upright position. So I don't want to slouch at all. So bring those shoulders back. Just ever so slightly rotate inwards with my hands. And then I will raise the weights out. Shoulder height, back down. So raise out, pause, slowly lower back down. And we'll just continue on. Exhale as we raise the weights up. Inhale as we return. If you're in a seated position, your instruction is the same. A nice controlled lift out to the sides. Pause, slowly lower back down. I keep the tension switched on with the shoulders. I don't let the weights fully come back down to where they're touching off my hips here. I'm just separating them always as they come down, straight back up. Keeping the elbows unlocked here, so not too tight. Just a nice controlled raise. If this is really difficult, should just point out, drop it to one arm at a time and rest. Okay. Next couple of variations here. Heel raises. I will lead this in a weighted position, lifting my heels up off the floor. If that's in any way unbalanced, I want you to hold on to the back of your chair and lift those heels up. And then, of course, we do also have our seated variation. Just simply into your chair, bring the feet back a little bit and bring those heels up in exactly the same way. Okay, so whichever variation is right for you, but I'm going to lead this with the extra challenge of weight today. Holding the weights, feet hip width, straight ahead, nice and upright, and I begin. Heels up and back down. Heels up, back down. So important that I feel balanced in the position. If this just doesn't feel good or comfortable, just get rid of those weights. Hold on to the back of your chair to guide you along. So nice strong lift, heels up, heels return to floor. Important that my body position stays straight, that I don't sway the hips forward and back at all. Keeping the position upright. Working and feeling the back of my lower legs, calf in each leg. Strong, powerful lift, return to floor. Last couple of times. And rest. Okay, one final movement. Again, standing or seated, your instruction and performance of this movement will be the same. So this is an arm curl. We're going to work the front of the arm. We're going to add in a little squeeze at the bottom part of the movement to work the back of the arm, the tricep as well. So I want to grasp the 2 weights by my side. I lift and rotate, curling the weights up towards my shoulders. I lower the weights back down, returning to their side, and then push back. So again, raise the weights up, curling. Squeeze the top. Slowly lower the weights down, return them to their side, and actively push back. And continuing on, I'm just using my spare hand just to show. I keep that elbow in a fixed position as I curl the weight up, and I keep it roughly in a fixed position, and then I just actively extend back. So again, curling up, feeling the front of the arm. As I lower and turn the weight to its side, I push back, squeezing the back of the arm, but all the time that elbow remains in a fixed position, roughly at the side of my body. So just take my 2 weights back. So just continuing on. Again, your focus here, just think front of the arm, bicep as I curl up, and we're just adding in a little bit of extra connection at the back of the arm, tricep, as we actively squeeze and push the weights back as we lower down. Go once more through the 2 ranges. And rest down. Okay, that is your first round of circuit finished. And what I want to do now, as we always do after our first round, is just check in with yourself how that felt. Was it easy, hard? And now then we want to make any adjustments. So if that was really difficult, we might want to slow the pace down, choose seated versions instead of standing, or just performing the movements a little bit slower. If it felt comfortable or a little bit easy, and we can now move in with a little bit more purpose and intensity on this second round. We're familiar with the movements, so we can go with a little bit of challenge now. So providing everything feels comfortable, we go again, second round. And final thing, if any movement is painful, change that exercise. Don't persist with something that just doesn't feel good. Always change anything that isn't feeling good. So we'll go back to the start. So setting up, feet a little bit wide in hip width. There's space between my feet. Left foot is further forward, so the toes of my right foot match up to the heel of the left foot. Arms across chest, elbows raised, and in 3, 2, 1, I begin. Standing up tall from my chair, sitting back down. Again, I have that left foot placed in front of the right, further forward, thus putting more work through the back right leg. I'm thinking of pushing the heel of that back leg into the floor as I stand up and working through that right leg. That right leg is doing most of the work here, taking more of the load as I stand up. Exhale as I stand. Inhale as I return. Any adjustment that needs to be made, such as just returning to a regular foot stance, that is perfectly fine. Or your seated leg extension option is here. As I perform one last time. And return. Relax the feet back, setting up for the opposite side. Right foot in front. So toes of left foot match up with heel of right foot, but still separated by width. Arms across chest. Elbows raised. Working with the clock here. So in 3, 2, 1, I begin. Standing up tall, sitting back down. If you ever find maybe the position is just a little bit off and maybe one foot is too far ahead, just make the adjustment as you go. So don't be afraid to stop, just reset the position. Okay? But again, I have my right foot placed in front of the left, further forward. I'm pushing the heel of my left foot into the ground as I stand and really working through that back left leg, making it do extra work today. I keep the arms or the elbows elevated in front here, just maintaining a nice upright position. So I'm never bending that back as I stand. Just think of those hips coming forward as we stand up. Exhale as I stand. Inhale as I return to seat. I'll go one last time. And return. Next movement, lateral raise. Take your drink of water if you need. Again, standing or seated, your instruction, performance and movement will be the same here. I'm going to take my 2 weights. Just a nice upright position. Might ever so slightly rotate inwards. And I will begin the action. Lifting out to my sides. Pause. Slowly lower down. Raise out. Pause. Slowly lower down. If you're in a seated position, the same. Just we're very mindful if we have arms on the sides of our chair. Just being extra careful with this one. And if we need, we can drop this to one arm at a time. So if you find this is really difficult, we can work through one side at a time. You might find you have a little bit more power and control that way. Exhale as we raise the weights out. Inhale as weights return. Nice and controlled as we move through the second round, maybe getting a little bit more tired. Just careful that we're not swinging the weight. We'll get a little bit of control always. Might perform 2 more repetitions here. And return. And keep holding my weights. Next movement, a couple of variations. Again, you can work this through your seated position. You can hold on to your chair just to guide you. And then finally, as I will lead with for today, holding the 2 weights in by my side. Nice upright position, toes pointed straight ahead. And I begin lifting heels up and back down. So that's why I'll always just give lots of options. We want to allow challenge progression. So maybe if you've been following the workouts from the very start, that you've challenged extra things like this, holding the weight as we lift our heels up. Nothing wrong with dropping the weight and holding on to the back of your chair or performing it in a seated position. Again, I just want to give lots of options so you have loads of choice to pick the level that's appropriate for you. So it's not too easy, it's not too hard. Whatever variation of the movement works best for you. Keeping the body nice and straight, not allowing my hips to sway forward and back here. Strong, powerful lift, heels return to floor. So heels up, returning to floor. Working and feeling the back of my lower legs. We go one more time. And down. Okay. Maybe after one like that, just need to shake the legs out. Might feel a little bit of tension down through the back of those lower legs. We like to feel a little bit of work after that one on the back of those legs. So taking our 2 weights, just holding them as if you were holding a suitcase, hold them by your side. We're going to work the front of the arm and the back of the arm again. So keep the elbows roughly in a fixed position. Lift and rotate as we bring the weights up towards shoulders. Return back to the sides. And then actively from this position, push back. So again, lift and rotate, squeeze, working bicep, front of the arm. Lower down, weights to their side. And then actively push back, squeezing the back of my arms. So just working through the 2 positions. Not just curling the weight up, but actively a little extension as I bring the weights down. Looking to feel and connect with the back of the arms in this position, and then working through the front of the arms as they curl up. Couple from the front position, how that looks. Okay, so just continue on there, just checking in. Back of upper legs. Yeah, I wouldn't. So if on the calf raise, so I'll just answer that question now fully. So as we finish out here. One more time. Arm back down. Okay, so rest the weights down. Take a little rest. So if on those heel raises, Mary, you're saying you feel maybe the upper legs a little bit more, I wouldn't worry too much. Once it's not kind of a soreness, once you feel challenge, the main focus of that movement of lifting the heels is to feel the back of the lower legs. What I would say with setup, trying to keep the body nice and straight. So maybe the angle we're coming at could affect it. So simple little things like if I'm tilting a little bit, maybe I'm feeling different areas. I like to keep the position as upright as I can. So a lot of the times when we're using the chair maybe for support, people are at a little bit of an angle here, and that can maybe change how we feel the movement. So whether using your chair or the weights by your side, keeping it as nice and upright as you can. And then just think very simple in that your heels raise up and then return to the floor. What I would suggest is if you're not feeling the back of the lower legs perfectly, is to try it with the chair so that you're holding onto the chair. You're really close to the back of it and very kind of clean, purposeful. Lift as high as you can onto the toes and back down. So up onto your toes and back down. And as I lift up, I'm feeling a squeeze and a connection in the back of those lower legs. And this will just help me keep a little bit straighter and maintaining the position. So maybe just making that adjustment if you were using the weights, maybe just actually holding onto the chair just to keep the position a little bit more kind of locked in to work the back of those lower legs. That might just feel better, but not necessarily wrong if you feel the back of the legs as well. In the context of everything we're doing, they might just be a little bit tired as well. And you might just feel them coming into play a little bit as well. But we definitely want to try and feel a little bit on the back of the lower as well. So hopefully that helps a little bit. But I definitely, as I say, just hold on to the chair for this one and maybe just kind of tighten up as a position. That might feel a little bit better. I feel lower legs more. Not sore. Well, yeah, that's okay. So I'm not sore. Yeah, exercise tension, perfect. Thanks for it. That's exactly it. Once it's not painful, tension, so that it feels a bit kind of tight, and you feel it's tense under a bit of strain. Perfect. It sounds like we're on the right kind of track there, so that's good. Right, so we'll move in third, final round. And again, like that, as was just posed there, if you have any kind of things you need to change up a little bit, always make those changes. And any questions like that, do always put them to me. Great to kind of get a sense of if something works well or not. So let's go one more time. And again, maybe on this third round, maybe you'll get a little bit tired quicker. And maybe some of the movements feel a bit more challenging. So don't be afraid to make any changes. So again, we have our leg extension. We have our regular sit to stand, or as I will lead with, our split stance. So how that looks, left foot in front of the right, toes of my right foot match up with the heel of my left foot. Nice and upright, arms across chest, elbows in front, 3, 2, 1, and I begin standing up tall, sitting back into my chair. Again, just make sure that this feels comfortable. Adjust the stance should you need. My upper body is upright. I'm not bending as I stand up. My left foot is placed further in front. So I'm feeling the back right leg doing extra work. Does not have to be in that perfect toe to heel alignment, but just that one foot is slightly further in front if you're looking to work the back leg a little bit harder. If this doesn't feel good, maybe first, second round was fine, maybe this third round a little bit tired, just bring your feet back to a regular stance without having one placed further in front. And that should just give you a little bit of extra power and spread the load through the two legs. Exhale as I stand up. Inhale as I return to seat. And rest. Rest it up. Take a couple of seconds. Always keep sipping on that water in between, just as I demonstrate on mind always. But always keep sipping on that water if you need. Right foot in front. And again, roughly the toes of the left foot lined up with the heel of the right foot, but still separated by space and width here. Arms across chest. Elbows raised. And I begin straight in, standing up, sitting back down. Again, my back left leg is now doing the work, most of it, and I'm pushing my heel into the floor. Again, I exhale as I stand up. Inhale as I return to seat. Upper body straight, not rounding my upper back, or not rounding my back at all here. And just keeping the pace of the movement controlled. Sometimes we might tend to rush through this, kind of pushing up down really quick, but keep it controlled, the pace that you're happy with. And back down, okay? Lateral raise, taking our 2 weights. And this is one, as I say, standing and seated instruction is really the same. So take our 2 weights. Again, just important that I'm not kind of hunched. Just bring it nice and straight. But ever so slightly rotate the hands in a little bit. And I will begin lifting the weights out. Return back down. Exhale as I bring the weights in line with my shoulders. Not needing to go any further than shoulder height. If I can pause at the top position, so this is the hardest part of the movement, so I briefly hold and then slowly return down. I won't stay very long at the bottom and just go straight into the next rep. Running out of power, the easiest adaptation we can make will just be to strip it back and alternate one arm at a time, and that should just give you a little bit of power back into the movement. So I can tell this third round definitely feels a little bit tougher. Just working hard to keep as much control as you can. Just careful that we're not swinging the weight. I perform one last time. Okay. Heel raises. So this is the one, just making sure the weights don't clatter onto the ground there for me. So I'll just briefly pause the clock, run through this one from the top. Again, your variations. Your seated position, you can walk the feet back, lift the heels up, nice, strong, lift up off the floor. Standing variations. So pause the clock, there's no need to rush. If using the chair, come close into the chair. So to say, I don't want to really come at this from an angle where maybe I'm leaning my body forwards. I want to keep nice and upright, hold on to the chair, feet hip width, toes straight ahead. And the only position I can move in is up and back down. So heels will come up and back down. And if we're going to take the weight, which I will lead with, we'll perform it in exactly the same way. Just mindful, as I say, that the hips don't sway forward and back. They keep in the position as straight as you can. I can only go up and then return to the floor. And aside from just lifting, really getting up onto the toes of your feet to get that maximum connection here. So let's bring the clock on. And as I will lead with our 2 weights. And I can even stand close to the chair just to give me feedback, because I'll know then if I'm swaying a little bit here. So nice and upright, straight, lift the heels up, return to the floor. Heels up, return to floor. Again, might just get a little pause at the top, slowly back down. Again, this is a movement. We can very easily start to kind of power up without really feeling anything. Right up onto the toes, back down. Up onto toes, back down. If I can get a little pause at the top and slowly return. That chair in front is going to give me a little bit of feedback. So if I start hitting into it, maybe I'm thrusting a little bit rather than lifting straight up. I just want to find as much work and tension through the back of the lower legs. But as mentioned with Mary there, you might feel a little bit further up, okay? And that's not necessarily wrong or anything. Once you're feeling a little bit through the back of the lower legs, you might feel the entire leg switched on, engaged. I'm in a very fixed position here. You might feel the entire leg is tensed, switched on, and active. So not wrong if you feel other parts of the leg switched on and helping out here. And down, okay? May just shake the legs out. So we're really kind of locked in that position, and that's why even just holding that stance and just being fixed in, all the leg is switched on, engaged, keeping me in that stance. So you might feel other parts of the leg helping out as well. I'm not wrong or anything like that. So back to the arms, as if holding a suitcase, elbows in a fixed position, lift the weights up and rotate, return down and push back. Lift up and rotate, squeeze at the top, down and squeeze at the bottom. Just as I demonstrate here that the elbows aren't lifting out of place or pushing back, so keeping them in a fixed position. As you move through the two ranges, curl up and squeeze, slowly down and squeeze. Again, as I curl the weights up and rotate, I think the front of the arm, bicep. As I push back, actively push back, I think back of the arm, tricep. So I'm trying to work through the two positions. Really, we're just taking an arm curl, but adding a little bit extra in the bottom position. We're trying to push the weight back a little bit and feeling the back of the arms, just to get that extra little connection with the back of the arms now. And once more. And rest. Drop the weights down and we will rest. Okay, so 3 rounds. Hopefully you enjoyed that and got a good challenge. We worked our thigh or quad with that split stand squat or sit to stand, or whichever variation we used. We worked our shoulders with our lateral raise. We worked our arms front and back. We also worked the calf, back and lower legs, maybe feeling other parts a little bit as well there. And we've had our aerobic block of work as well. So really kind of comprehensive amount of work done for your body there, strengthening and just working the heart, working the lungs with that aerobic work as well. So we'll move into a couple of stretches and a nice light flowing movements. I don't want to come to an abrupt sudden stop at this point. I want to just lightly ease off and relax the body down. So just a couple of light movements. Might just lightly hold on to the chair here. Just take some strain off the upper body. Just stretch the legs back one at a time, pointing toes into the floor. From that position, and what I will then do is just lightly tap the heels out in front. So again, at this point, the effort is light. These are not challenging movements. The purpose is light. We're still moving, we're still active, but at a much lower intensity now. Nice light movements, just bringing that heart rate back to a resting level and just slowly easing off and relaxing our body. Okay, and then I just want to return and just showing from the side again, just lightly stretch the legs back, pointing your toes into the floor. And again, just nice to move lightly through the legs. We had a lot of tension on the legs with the positions we worked. Really probably feeling a little bit of tiredness in the legs. So just a couple of light movements, just light flowing stretches here, lightly pointing back. And then again, just return to those heel taps. Okay, from here, I will just lift my right knee up, pause for a couple of seconds, and then lift the left knee. And then just lift the right knee, and then the left, and then right, and left. Okay, just bringing the hands up. Want to push forward as far away from my chest as I can. And then I'll pull back, bringing the elbows back, squeezing between shoulder blades. Press forward and hold, keeping the hands raised up. Pull back. Push forward and hold. Pull back. Let's go twice more. Push forward and hold. Pull back. And then once more, push forward and hold. And pull back. Okay, really nice movement next. Rotate a stretch of the back, and we'll also switch on the shoulder. A little bit of mobility. Really nice movement here. So what I want to do is just lightly tap the fingers towards each other here. So they're just physically touching, two sets, my fingers touching each other. Rotate my body to the right. Turn the palm of the hand up and reach back. Return. Slowly rotate to the left. Turning the palm of that left hand up and just lightly reach back. So a nice rotation through the upper body, nice stretch through the back, but a really nice movement through the shoulder as well as I turn the palm of the hand up and just lightly reach back. Not going to force anything, just taking my time in each position, turning the hand up and lightly reaching back. Let's go twice more between each position. And then once more in each position. Again, minimizing the movement from your hips, keeping the movement through the upper body and then through the shoulder. And back up, back in. Okay. From this position, just slowly roll the shoulders back. Nice and light. And then rolling shoulders forward. Okay, I'm just going to take a stretch for the calf, back of the lower leg. What I want to do is hold on to the chair, extend your right leg back, so straighten out that back leg, keep the front leg nice and soft. And then I want to imagine just lightly pulsing forward, keeping that heel pushed into the floor. So I'm really going to stretch out the back of that lower leg. But this is definitely one we might feel up through the entire leg. Hold for a couple of seconds, return. Now I extend my left leg back, pushing my heel into the floor. Keep the front leg soft knee. Lightly pulse forward, pushing the heel of that back leg into the floor. Again, I might feel this right the way up through the back of the leg, anywhere along the lower, right up through the upper part as well. Might feel this stretch. Couple of seconds. Back in. Again, reset. Right leg back. Pushing my heel into the floor. The leg is straight. Front leg soft knee. As I gently pulse forward, I push my heel into the floor. Holding for a couple of seconds. And down. Once more on the opposite side, pushing my left heel into the floor. Front leg soft knee, back leg straighter. lightly pulse my body forward, keeping that heel pushed into the floor and holding for a couple of seconds here. Okay, and out. So just finishing off in a seated position. No problem. Thanks very much, Mario. Glad there's a challenge there. That's the main thing. And hopefully, any more questions ever, like, don't be afraid to ask. And even if I don't answer the question, they're kind of enough, do just let me know. So bring the right leg out, just point the toes forwards and then pull the toes back. And I'm just giving you this option if you found that standing variation very difficult. So again, point the toes forwards, pull back, and then once more, toes forwards, and then pull back, really stretching now. And just finish on the left, to your left leg out, toes forwards, pull back, toes forwards, pull back, stretch, and then once more, just toes forward out of the position, and then pull back and down. Okay, so we'll just finish off by resting hands on legs. Inhale through the nose, slowly out the mouth. And once more. Okay, so that concludes our workout. Thanks very much for tuning in. That's our Staying Well While Staying Home series, collaboration between Siel, Bleu Ireland and the Irish Cancer Society. So any questions around the workouts, don't be afraid to let me know. Kind of hard, easy, any questions along the way, always just put them to me, and great to get that kind of feedback. So thanks very much, everyone, and we'll be back again next Wednesday at the same time. I can just keep an eye on our social media for any changes with the class, but all going well, should be there again next Wednesday, same time. So thanks for tuning in, and well done, everyone.